song about my beautiful hometown, Akron, Ohio. To Ohio, when my city was gone, there was no train station, there was no downtown. Somehow it disappeared. All my favorite places, my city had been pulled down. It used to be rocking spaces and all the way to go, Ohio. Hey, up. Back to Ohio, but my family was gone. I stood on the back porch, there was nobody home. I was stunned and amazed. My childhood memories sort of swirled past, like the wind through the trees. I said, I ain't all the way to go, Ohio. Right outside the to Ohio, with my pretty countryside. It had been paved down the middle by a government intent on fucking up this whole country. The farms of Ohio had been replaced by shopping malls, and music filled the air. From Seneca to Cahoga Falls, I said I ain't all the way to go, Ohio.
Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. And now in English. After 8 years, Justin Trudeau's running out of people to blame. I just finished a tour of Canada, and I was impressed by the incredible courage of Canadians who are suffering the misery that Trudeau has imposed on them. At 8 years, housing costs have doubled. The cost of living is rising. Crime, chaos, drugs, and disorder are common in our streets, and those streets are increasingly filled with homeless people stuck living in tents because of the doubling of housing costs. Now, Justin Trudeau thinks the worst problem in Canada today is that people are angry at him. I think the worst problem is that people can't pay their rent. After 8 years of his inflationary policies, of his shoveling billions of dollars into the bureaucracies that block home building, housing costs are among the worst in the world, nearly double what they are in the United States. Rent has doubled. Mortgage payments doubled. Needed down payments doubled, all after 8 years of Justin Trudeau. Yesterday, he held a press conference to announce in front of a house to tell you all that he's not responsible for housing. That's funny, because 8 years ago, he promised he was going to lower housing costs. It's also funny that the biggest housing agency in Canada, CMHC, is federal. Mortgage insurance, federal. Taxes, fiscal and monetary policy, federal. Immigration, federal. Infrastructure money, federal. All these things are federal, and yet the federal prime minister claims he has nothing to do with it whatsoever. No wonder he wants to wash his hands of his horrendous and unprecedented record. After 8 years, people are losing their homes. I used to say there were 35-year-olds living in their parents' basements, and people were shocked to hear that. Now, it's much worse. The 35-year-old worries that him and his mother might be on the street living in their cars. I met a 42-year-old carpenter in Sault Ste. Marie who lives in his car. I talked to a housing advocate in Penticton who says it's common now for her to meet seniors in that city that live in parking lots. CTV even ran a story of a nurse who lives in her van. Does anybody remember Canada like this? The scenes in our cities where there's tents, where people live on the streets and in parks, have not been this common since the Great Depression. Our refugees cloister in inner cities and under bridges. This is life after 8 years of Justin Trudeau. He's concerned that people are angry at him. I'm concerned for the little girl in Timmins who stepped on a dirty needle, or the mother in Toronto who was hit by a stray bullet. I'm concerned about the sports store owner in Timmins who had his shop robbed for the 4th time in 2 years. I'm not concerned whether or not Justin Trudeau's feelings are hurt because people are angry at him. I'm concerned about the misery that he has unleashed on our streets and in the pocketbooks of Canadians. You know, I looked today at the Journal de Montréal. I'm going to quote, "Health professionals are reportedly seeing more and more of a disease that had almost disappeared, scurvy. This disease had practically disappeared, but health professionals claim that it is due to food inflation, that this disease dating back to the Middle Ages is resurfacing. Quote, people are eating fewer vegetables and fruits, probably because costs have gone up, said pharmacist Régin Lemay. Typically, by eating fruit and vegetables daily, you get enough vitamin C to avoid developing this disease. People aren't getting vitamin C now after 8 years of Trudeau's inflationary deficits and taxes. And now he wants to quadruple the carbon tax from 14 to 61 cents a liter on the farmers who make the food, the truckers who ship the food, and therefore all who buy the food. This is the misery that he has unleashed, and unfortunately, it will only get worse the longer he is there. But the good news is that Canada wasn't like this before Justin Trudeau, and it won't be like this after he's gone. We'll get back to the common sense of the common people. We'll bring home lower prices by axing the carbon tax and the inflationary deficits to make food, heat, and gas more affordable. We'll bring home powerful paychecks with lower income tax that rewards hard work, with a blue seal test that will allow our brilliant immigrants to show they are qualified to work as doctors and nurses, reducing wait times. We'll green light green projects like critical minerals, hydroelectricity, and natural gas for export to the world, bringing home our jobs back to this country. We'll bring homes that people can afford. With a plan that I released, by the way, in April of 2022. Justin Trudeau says he still hasn't seen it. A plan that would incentivize cities to free up land and speed up permits so we can build. We have the fewest houses per capita of any country in the G7 with the most land to build on. The answer is to build. My plan, my common sense plan, requires cities boost the number of building permits by 15% per year, or lose their housing or lose their infrastructure grants. But those that exceed that target will get building bonuses. I'll require every federally funded transit station have high density housing approved all around it so our seniors and youth can live right next to the bus or train. We'll sell off 6,000 federal buildings and thousands of acres of federal land to build. We'll speed up immigration of building trades skilled immigrants, and we'll put more emphasis on training the future tradespeople of our country. That is a common sense plan that will build the millions of homes that we need to make it affordable as it was 8 years ago when I was the housing minister. And we'll bring home safety to our streets with jail and not bail for repeat violent offenders, and with treatment, not more drugs, for those who suffer from the illness of addiction. And we'll stop dividing and censoring Canadians, bring back freedom of expression, remove internet censorship laws, and treat Canadians based on their individual humanity, not their group identity. It's common sense of the common people united for our common home. Now let's bring it home. Thank you.
Since you mentioned immigration is part of the federal area, is that contributing to the housing issues? Should Canada re-examine immigration targets until housing gets better?
Well, I was surprised that Justin Trudeau chose the worst immigration minister in Canadian history to be his housing minister. Sean Fraser is responsible for putting refugees under bridges and in our streets. Sean Fraser oversaw the massive human tragedy of our international student program, which has people coming here defrauded by fake educational institutions and often going back to their home country in body bags. Justin Trudeau is utterly incompetent in his immigration, and he has messed it up so badly that many immigrants are now saying they were better off in their country of origin. Something I never heard in my life. There's actually an internet phenomenon now where immigrants are warning potential newcomers of how unaffordable and dangerous life is in Canada after 8 years of Justin Trudeau. My policy, my common sense policy on immigration will be driven by the number of vacancies that private sector employers want to fill, the number of charities that want to sponsor refugees, and the families that want to reunite quickly with loved ones. Let's base it on common sense, not on Justin Trudeau's ideology and incompetence. And that's how we'll restore the immigration system that has, before his arrival, been more successful than any other great immigration system on earth. Thank you.
What's wrong with the 500,000 target in your mind? You call it a vanity project. What's wrong with that target?
I think what's wrong is Justin Trudeau's incompetence. So far, we've seen a totally incompetent Justin Trudeau. What will I do? I'll make sure we have housing and health care so that when people come here, they have a roof overhead and care when they need it. I'll make sure that it's easier for employers to fill genuine job vacancies they cannot fill. I will make sure, furthermore, sorry, it's not a debate. You have a question, I'll give you my answer. My answer is that we will also ensure that immigrants who come here as professionals get a chance to work in their profession. After 8 years of Trudeau, there are now 20,000 immigrant doctors and 32,000 immigrant nurses that can't work in our hospitals, while we have massive waiting lines. It boils my blood to think that my little girl sits in a waiting room for hours with her, with a headache or a migraine, when there are brilliant immigrant doctors that could be treating her, but for the fact that there's no direct way for them to take a test and prove their qualifications. That's why I proposed a Blue Seal national standard that would allow professionals to take an exam, prove they're qualified, and work anywhere in Canada. We did this in 1952 for the trades.
Targets, Sarah. What target would you set?
We did this in the trades with the Red Seal in 1952. And it was the federal government that brought the provinces together to get it done. So that the target I would set is to get a Blue Seal that would allow professionals to prove their qualifications, get to work so we can improve our healthcare.
The Prime Minister accused the previous Conservative government, which you were a part of getting out of what he said the housing business completely. What is your response to that?
I don't even need to respond. When I was housing minister, housing cost half of what it does now. We didn't have people living in tent cities. We didn't see, I'll give you the stats. This is the result of Justin Trudeau's policy on housing. It's true, there's no question that our policy under the Conservative government costs less money, but it was also more effective in bringing about affordable housing to Canadians. The rent in this country is up 93%. Mortgage payments are up over 100%. The needed down payment for a home is up 100%. You know, these are the costs that Justin Trudeau has imposed. Now, he might brag that his policy is more expensive to taxpayers, but that doesn't make it a success. Failing is bad. Failing expensively is worse. We will do neither. When I'm Prime Minister, we will succeed at a lower cost to home buyers and taxpayers.
The Prime Minister has...
Concernant une décision aujourd'hui qui a été prise par Meta qui dit qu'ils vont commencer aujourd'hui à bloquer les contenus de nouvelles sur les sites canadiens, qu'est-ce que vous feriez si vous étiez au gouvernement face à cette situation?
Je trouve ça incroyable que dans une démocratie, que le premier ministre a adopté une loi pour faire disparaître les nouvelles de l'Internet. On penserait qu'on est en Corée du Nord. Ce n'est pas les démocraties à travers le pays ou à travers le monde où on voit la disparition des nouvelles. Mais c'est ça la conséquence des projets de loi de censure qu'a adopté Justin Trudeau. Il ne veut pas que les Canadiens sachent la vérité. C'est pour ça qu'il a adopté des lois pour censurer l'Internet. Moi, je suis pour la liberté d'expression et que ce soit un gouvernement ou une entreprise technologique, c'est inacceptable d'effacer les nouvelles.
The Prime Minister has accused you of drumming up fear and anger in the Canadian public, suggesting the way you're doing politics is dangerous for Canadians. You're trying to soften your image. Are you concerned about the idea that you are being portrayed to Canadians as angry?
I think that the people who can't pay their rent would realize that whether I told them or not. Do you really think that the single mother who has seen her rent go up by 100% under Trudeau wouldn't have noticed if I didn't say it? Do you think the 1.5 million people who are forced to go to food banks because Trudeau's driven their food prices up so much wouldn't have noticed if I didn't say it out loud? Do you think the 35-year-old who would have easily been able to afford a home in his 20s when I was the minister responsible, but is now stuck in his parents' basement, wouldn't have noticed that he's living in a basement had I not said it? Do you think that the 500 people who came out to a crime town hall in Timmins because they no longer feel safe in their community wouldn't have noticed all the crime in their city had I not said it out loud? Justin Trudeau and some of his supporters in the media are really concerned that Canadians are angry with him. I'm concerned that Canadians can't afford to live and that they're not safe in their communities. Justin Trudeau is upset that I'm saying things are broken. Maybe he should stop breaking them.
last question.
What's your response to Meta's decision to officially remove news from its platform as of today?
I think it's like 1984. You have a prime minister passing a law to make news articles disappear from the internet. Who would ever have imagined that in Canada, the federal government would pass laws banning people from effectively seeing the news? Who would have thought that we'd have a government that would pass a law to manipulate?
Who would have thought? Who would have thought that in merely a few years and a little information that I would have gone from thinking at one time that this Mr. Pierre Poilievre, that he was a bonhomme, a good man, and that he was speaking truth to power. And he was going to rescue Canada and restore it to its wholesomeness and prosperity. But now I think, fuck, he's probably just another satanistic pedophile who has a golf course membership at the same place Justin Trudeau does. That's how I think now. It's weird, isn't it? Isn't that weird? Well, I'm just going to put out the link. I really don't have much. I'm just testing this thing again. Turns out I got another like 15 hours till August the 10th, and then the 20-hour cycle starts. But I can't type in YouTube. I can't. That's funny. I can read Kev, good evening. And Mick, hello, good evening. Annie says she's watching, but she has told me via WhatsApp, that I can't read what she's typing. How about this, Kev or Mick? If you can type one in the chat, if you can read Annie's typings. Do 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 do. Do, 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 do. Or two if you can't. Do 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 boop 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 boom bum bum bum. Annie, did you hear that, dear? I got a better idea. Annie, het jij dit gehoord, schat? Oh, that's funny. Gehoor. They got the word hoor in one of in the verb to hear. That's amazing. That's just amazing. Annie, krijg je geweer. Annie, krijg je geweer. Annie, krijg je geweer. Annie, krijg je geweer. Okay, man. Well, I'll drop the link. I'm only going for 15 minutes of live conversational time. I got a few anecdotes, and then I'm going to get really, really hoch and play a bit of chess and do some reading. Yeah, there you go. That was my feeling all along, to be honest with you. Yeah. Link, edit, copy, click, edit, paste, click. Boom! There you go. I'll just sit here waiting patiently. I can't pin the link. I can't chat in any YouTube chat. I can't sign in to YouTube. I keep getting directed to a Google page that says that you're temporarily suspended. Hi, Annie.
Evening.
It's not very polite to cough on a panel, you know.
Sorry. So sorry.
You should be. How's it going?
Cold, but good.
Yeah, that sucks. I'm sorry you've got cold weather because it's just amazing. Just amazing here, man.
Apparently, in the mornings here, it's about 34 degrees, but it feels like 2. And they say dew point is 1.
Yeah.
But Thursday is going to be 25 degrees. So I'm looking forward a bit to that. Can wash the thick blankets and hang them outside for a change.
Don't forget that if it's 4 degrees and windy, then it can feel like -4 degrees, you know? It's yeah.
It's wet, yeah. So when did we have rain? Sunday? Oh, yesterday too. So we've got the rain with it. There was a bit of sun today.
That sucks too.
Hi, Kev.
So I was talking to my guy today, and it was he told me some interesting stories. Something about a woman in the States suing her parents for having given birth to them, which is kind of along that Danny Shine antinatalism thing.
So silly.
It is kind of weird. Like how do you defend yourself in court for
And the way the world's going now, she'll probably win it too. Clown world.
Yeah. Sure. Why not? Or maybe the whole thing is just made up and it's just fodder for the mind control.
But you must also take into account not everything is made up. There are certain things that are, yes.
No, I think the better way to look at the world is to assume that it's made up. It's just like in the old form when we were heavily under mind control. We just assumed that what we were being told was the truth. So I think in order to really wake up, you have to kind of look at life and the media in particular, and say no, they're probably just this is probably all
the media. Yes.
Or
Kid
even
wants to ask me a question. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, well, he'll have to come up on the panel.
I think so too.
Or I'm going to block him, so he won't be able to talk anymore in this chat room. but he'll think he is. That's the cruelty of modern day shadow ban.
I posted this on. I sent it to what's his name? Faze on Discord. I don't know if he will pop on because it's only 3 of us here, I think.
Yeah, it says 3 on StreamYard and 3 on YouTube. Yeah. Well, that's actually, you gave me a good idea. Can you type something in the private chat here and see if I can see that? Just type 1. so she types pussy.
No, you're saying it wrong.
Puss.
Darcy, yeah. Hi, Mick.
All right, Ken.
How you doing?
Not too bad. How are you?
All right. Long time no hear, no see.
Yeah, where you been? Where you been, Mick?
Busy.
Yeah?
Yeah, my daughter's had another kid, so I've got a grandson now.
Oh, congratulations.
Right on.
If my kid sued us and says, I'm going to sue you for giving birth, I'd just take them to Holland and say, there's euthanasia over here if you wanted. Saves the change of mind.
What I would do is I would forge documents asserting that in 1981, I was talking to my sperm and telling them not to impregnate anybody or eggs or give life.
I think you got a case to sue your sperm there, Ken.
A countersuit against the sperm. Yeah.
The
I
I'm
old-
still waiting. Sorry.
like the way you think, man. Go ahead, Annie.
No, I'm just saying, there's my question. You can chat so long.
Can you read what Kevin's writing now?
Oh, it's Julius Malema. It's a song called One Bullet, One Boer. He's been doing it. It's a struggle song apparently. He's been doing it for years. He's the leader of the Economic Freedom Front. But nothing gets done to him.
It's a song or a speech?
A song. And the Afrikaans groups, it's like Solidarity and Agri Forum and all that, they want to take him to court the whole time. They lost against him. It's a joke. And he keeps on saying all white people must go back to Europe.
So does that mean all the black people from Europe have to go back to Africa then?
Yeah, he doesn't see it that way. His son is in a private school. He rents a house from a Greek. He's completely the opposite of whatever he says. And his wife bleaches her skin. So it's sad. I just don't take note of him.
Sorry, I'm just going to share a little bit of this because I've never heard of the guy. I can't find the song now, but maybe you can find that for me, Annie.
With
forum and but I can't find. Yeah, there's Julius
never
Malema.
brought someone so weak as you. I think they've done the worst disservice to themselves.
Another dramatic day in court. EFF leader Julius Malema not backing down.
It is white people who must be ashamed.
Yeah, okay. White people should be ashamed. Yeah. Oh, hey, maybe this is it. Yeah.
Alliance. Shoot to kill. Come on, sir. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer.
These chants have prompted the official opposition to approach the international body to hold EFF leader Julius Malema accountable over what it terms dangerous remarks. The DA leader accused Malema of, quote-unquote, resurrecting the demon of hatred, divisions and ethnic violence in South Africa.
The political leader who incites mass murder is not normal. A member of parliament who calls for the killing of an entire section of society is not normal. And cowardly politicians who turn a blind eye to the incitement of civil war is not normal. Let me be clear, the DA will not look away.
The DA is now taking up the matter on a global stage.
We are filing charges against both Julius Malema and the ANC government at the United Nations Human Rights Council. The first element of our United Nations case will focus on Malema's repeated incitement.
Wow. And I thought my country was fucked up. That's and you also have load shedding too.
But the sad part is why it's so a touchy subject is because every day farmers here are being murdered. I mean, I've got family that stay on farms, and the security that they've got to put up around their farms, it's shocking.
Wow.
Yeah. There's kids that get put in baths and their skin, because of the hot water and the hot oil that gets thrown over them, their skin sticks to the bath. It's sad. And as I say, it's not only what we're seeing on the news, which you would think is a lie. I've got family members that are farmers that have to protect themselves.
Wow.
And you've seen my photos of my house, how high the gates are up here.
Yeah, that was one thing that surprised me about your city is all the gates around houses.
It's like apocalyptic almost, isn't it? South Africa, like the end of the world type scenario going on, isn't it?
Oh well, I think that's going on everywhere, don't you, Mick?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched the documentary on it, and it was like fucking. They were just shopping centers just smashed to pieces. People just walking down the street with like loot and everything. It was like fucking madness.
Kev is asking, does that work? I'm not sure what he's talking about.
Our neighbor, on Friday morning when it was load shedding between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock in the morning, he put his pickup truck outside and they stole it. They stole it on Friday, and his cameras were obviously off because it was load shedding. So, yeah. What did Kev type? That doesn't look.
Like that last word is like Afrikaans, isn't it? Te pracht. That doesn't look te pracht. So is this your first grandchild, Mick?
No, third.
Third, eh? Okay.
Yeah.
So your pocket's gonna get a little more drained then.
No, they were, yeah. Just been down to see her, and she gave birth while we were there. Well, cesarean.
Well, congratulations, man.
Thanks. Just wonder what sort of world they're coming into, eh?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Just wonder what sort of world they're going to come into.
Yeah.
What's going to be like for them.
Well, I'll tell you what. This is just something that's been on my mind. It's been on my mind lately. Hang on a second here.
While you're looking for it, I'm going to stay on here until I go off, because the power should go off now.
Oh, right. Yeah. I'm sorry. Okay.
So if you see me disappear, then you know my power's going to go off. But I'll check until then.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming up. I appreciate it. Yeah. And thanks for helping me to figure out this nightmare. Okay, so this is from the book that I'm reading called Lies the Government Told Me by Robert W. Malone. And this is from the perspective of a hedge fund manager or a financial analyst who has already just in this chapter made the case that there's just been massive banking fraud going on for a decade now. Okay, so this is the end of his chapter. You can make the case that it's intentional because the policies are so bad that they're shutting down energy production. Before the Ukraine war, Biden's first executive order on day one of his administration was to shut down the Keystone pipeline. So here we are. I think we're at the end. The bug that's going around provided cover for the central banks and the governments, but it also allowed for a control system. If everything is going to collapse, wouldn't it be nice to have a control system where travel is restricted? You can blame it on the bug that's going around. You can create loosey-goosey passports, which then get linked to digital IDs and then central bank digital currency. So I think the bug that's going around was a convenient excuse. As we roll through time, I'm starting to think this was a plan. I don't have evidence. That's funny. But the fact that we're not stopping what's going on suggests to me that it's a conspiracy of interests and they don't want to stop the rollout of these loosey-juicies. And the longer this goes on, the more convinced I become that the bug that's going around may have been a plan. I used to say it was a convenient excuse, but the longer this goes on, the more ridiculous this becomes. This has all the appearance of ill intent. If stock markets become seriously unhinged and we start getting declines of more than 40% in the indices, the Federal Reserve may start buying stocks outright, which will result in a neo-feudalism system that will only magnify already existing discrepancies between the haves and the have-nots. At this point, there is no market mechanism to punish anybody for making bad decisions. Bad decisions by large investors and banks are bailed out by the central banks. The moral hazard is so high that if you just are a C-suite executive at a major Fortune 500 company, you're going to become phenomenally wealthy, and you do not really have to be particularly skilled. You're going to be one of the lords, and the workers and everybody else are going to be struggling to make ends meet. That's what's been going on for the last 12 years. The economy, for the most part, has been an economy of the big and those close to the printing machine. If you're trying to actually create a small business, if you're a worker at one of these corporations and you don't get a lot of stock options, you're not getting ahead. His final thoughts. My successful career in stock picking was predicated on pattern recognition, developing a thesis with limited information, taking an early initial position and being proved right or wrong over time. Essentially, I had learned to become a stock picking conspiracy theorist. Those who want to call me that now are welcome to do so, but I believe that my thesis on the link between global debt, central banks, and the bug that's going around will be borne out over time and has already gained more legitimacy since my initial crazy predictions of May 2020. With regard to loosey-juicy data, every week that rolls by produces more evidence of malfeasance by Pfizer and Moderna, unearthed by Dr. Naomi Wolf's dedicated volunteers who perused the clinical trial data that the FDA wanted to hide for 75 years. The evidence of excess death and disability continues to pile up. So he had talked previously in the chapter about funeral homes becoming major multinational businesses because of the pandemic, and about insurance companies reporting that it's an all-time record high in their industry for short-term disability claims, long-term disability claims, and death. So they're saying that even taking into account all the people that they say that the bug killed between, I think it was 2020 and 2021, mortality or the death rate was 40% higher. Death from any cause, it doesn't matter. Just 40% more people on Earth died in 1 year than they did the year before. Okay, so I have never been more convinced that the loosey-juicy not only doesn't work, but that these are the deadliest loosey-juicies ever introduced into the human population. The US government is guilty of democide with their forced mandates, and countless corporations and government agencies are also liable for forcing employees to accept injections of experimental loosey-juice that employ novel gene therapy-based technology. Last paragraph. The corporate media and large tech companies are also complicit due to their censorship of critical, loosey-juicy information, and in my opinion, are accessories to wrongful death. Once we open up the Overton window, and the Overton window is a range of allowable public, political, or scientific discourse. Once we open up the window on this topic and the majority of the population learns what has happened, we will see a tremendous loss of trust in our institutions. At a bare minimum, the NIH, CDC, FDA, and Health and Human Service structures need to be raised and built up new again. In addition, the politicians, doctors, university administrators, and media tech complex that pushed this loosey-goosey program will have much to answer for in the coming years. They too will have lost the public's trust and will need to rethink their institutions and governance. Sorry, Cal, didn't mean to depress you, buddy. What did you think of that, ladies and gentlemen?
Wasn't that what we all just thought right from the off? All that was going to happen. We already knew, so we're just waiting for it to come to fruition.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to look at this as an enviable position to be able to watch the end of the world and understand it, rather than just to be, swept up by it and just totally anxious and depressed and fearful all the time, which is how they want us. I think that there comes freedom from knowledge. I think it's just getting there is hard. It's really difficult.
It's freedom, but it's also you create a prison as well. It's like fucking.
Well, yeah, but then again, that could be just residual mind control. That could be because you and I grew up in systems where we were exposed to so many torture scenes in movies. And, we've come internally to believe that, holy shit, if I figure out how the world really works and it really is this corrupt and dangerous and there's an obvious agenda here, I'm going to go crazy, or I'm going to end up, a social outcast economically on the street, that kind of thing.
Do you know if he's saying the world exactly how it is?
Hang on a sec. Sorry, that was my disco phone.
If you could say the world exactly how it is with no veils, they so depressing, I don't think you'd survive very long. You've got to switch yourself off to certain things that's going on, otherwise you go fucking mental.
Well, see, I'm not so sure about that anymore. I think you go mental if you shut your mind off to certain things. I mean, it's always a matter of time, well, we could go on and on, but I'm sorry, guys. I gotta shut her down right now. The sun just broke out again, and I'm gonna go sit outside.
Just so random. You're very random.
Smoke hash and read a bit, and yeah. But I want to thank you both for coming up. Thanks for keeping me company.
It's been nice talking to you.
Yeah, it's good to see you. It really is.
Short and sweet. Goodbye, everyone.
We'll see you later, Kevin. Everybody take care and have a good night.
Thank you.